Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. I'm Mr. Carnage. Today we're going to kind of talk about an overall spectrum of basically news that you guys don't really get from mega news channels. And kind of what we're going to be doing is I will get back to doing some of my older content. I know I take a long break. You know, stuff happens in real life. So what this segment's going to be about, and I'm going to continue to do this as well, is kind of helping people get some of the news that they normally don't get. For instance, if you look at the screen here, sometimes you got to go 4 or 5 pages in to get news that all the news stations aren't, regurgitating over and over again. So, yesterday they put a bill on the floor to, relief aid or whatever. And then if you look around, depending on, what party you bow down to, you hear different versions of what's the problem, what's the holdup. But ultimately, the problem and the holdup is bickering between two parties that don't want to give an inch. You can blame one side, you can blame the other, whatever you want to do. I'm giving you more of the middle, the moderate view. So, on the Democrat side, they did make a bill back in May for corona relief. But they knew when they made that bill that the Republicans weren't going to give them even half of that. So they did it to, obviously show, hey, look, this is everything that we want to do. But ultimately, they knew it wasn't going to pass. They knew that. They knew the Republicans were going to pick it apart and, make it to where it barely had anything in there. They knew that. So making this bill that scope, people would think, well, maybe that was just the initial offer and then they would negotiate, etc., etc. No, they knew ahead of time that wasn't going to be the case. Then the Republicans flat out, just cut everything out of that bill, and then they made up their own version, which I'm sure you heard of, the skinny version of corona relief, which in that bill offered absolutely jack shit, honestly, to the American people. It really did absolutely hardly anything at all. And for them to say that it was going to cost like $700 billion is beyond me. I don't think there's any way that it would cost it that. So, what does that mean for us? Basically, what that means for us is that they're just going to keep bickering and fighting and pointing the finger at each other until election. What they're failing to understand, though, is that the normal American citizen, at this point, I've talked to a lot of them, and they're thinking about voting third party. So all they're doing is driving a wedge into the American people. And if they were hoping that they were going to get votes from this little, bullshit circus, I'm not sure what political experts told them to go this way. People think that the Democrats should have folded and just agreed to get something passed because something's better than nothing. Well, that's not true. Something isn't better than nothing. If we're not really getting anything out of the bill, and this bill had a bunch of fluff to it that goes to places that doesn't need money right now, like helping corporations that are doing just fine and not helping small business, that's that's stupid. Why would anybody want to do that? And then on the other side, why would the Democrats think that they're going to get $3.3 trillion to do all of these pet projects that they wanted to do? What should have been the bill is it should have been a stimulus check to the American people. It should have been help for small business, protections for the American people and protections for small business. That's all that should have been in there. Nothing else should have been in that bill. Nothing. So they're talking, well, maybe another bill might come through Congress. So Congress just got back into the chamber. So they're more worried about right now funding their paychecks than they are anything else. So the next bill that's going to be voted on is actually a bill to fund the government through the election, basically until the end of December. So they're going to make sure they get paid, not shut the government down. So that should tell you something about the mindset of our politicians. They don't care that people are struggling and selling possessions to pay for food and bills and things of that nature. They don't give a shit. As long as they make their money and they get their paycheck, they're happy. They're fine. So why is that a problem for us? Is that we pay federal taxes for programs that are supposed to help the American people. There should have been a much better game plan. Yes, I realize that Obama and Biden had some kind of pandemic playbook that Trump did throw out, but it didn't replace it with anything. But we shouldn't be leaving these supposed playbooks up to presidents to enact when something like this happens. There should have been, and always should have been, a department that oversaw natural disasters, pandemics, things of that nature, and that they themselves are the ones who would, obviously govern that. Leaving anything up to a president of that magnitude, in my opinion, it's stupid. And I'm not saying just because it's Trump. I'm saying in general. Like, no president should have to, deal with something like this to the point where they just kind of feel their way through it. And that's exactly what's going on, is our government just feeling its way through it. They haven't listened to the experts on the economy saying that, by Christmas, we're going to be full-blown recession unless something happens. And they know this. They do have the experts telling them, barking in their ear, hey, you got to do something. And then they just are like, well, no, we're just going to pay our salaries and we're going to focus on our election and let the chips, fall where they may. I think most of us would have rather that they didn't give a stimulus check back in March, April, that they would have held off on it until the holiday season, honestly, because that would help, more people out than doing it in March, right? So, that's something that we have got to hold both sides accountable for at this point. And honestly, I think that we need to figure something out to the point where this doesn't continuously happen, where we have to rely on, the government, because they're the ones who shut shit down. They're the ones who put in, mandates and all this stuff, told which companies that they need to shut down and stay shut down, and which ones that could be open. Of course, Walmart, McDonald's open, right? But, places for leisure fun like bowling alleys, movie theaters, shit like that, were closed. So how is that fair that they had to close and everybody else was allowed to be open? These smaller companies didn't survive. But you knew as good as I did that Walmart and Target and McDonald's and Safeway and all those places were going to survive this pandemic. So that's bullshit, honestly. But, so there's going to be a few different segments to this. This is just the first video, just kind of explaining where this direction is going to go. I'm looking forward to seeing what other people have to say. Again, this isn't a party thing at all. This is an American thing. So, in your comments, try to leave your political, overlord type shit at the door. Comment below how you personally feel, not how your party feels. Okay? That, I don't care. I know what each party feels like. And both sides are wrong. So, I don't really care to hear what a party has to say. I'm already worried about what an American citizen feels right now, how a normal everyday American feels about what's going on. So definitely leave your comments, check out and wait for the next video. If you need the notification, definitely hit subscribe, throw a like on the video, and definitely hit the little bell for notifications. We'll catch you on the next video.